Well, Grandpa Sam here again. I want to welcome you to my channel. You see over my shoulder the newest addition to the tiny house village. And those that saw the section 2, they realized that I had no more space. I thought I was all through, but I got to thinking, if I moved my wife's desk down and I took out a cabinet, I had room for a 2 by 4 foot table. And by utilizing the top of the little file cabinet and the table, I had plenty of room for my newest addition, which is the Valley Industrial Park. I'll start out by showing you just briefly, just a really rough outline of where I was going to put my turnouts. And from there, we will do an overview, and then we'll go begin our tour. So, all aboard, we're ready to go. If you remembered from my last video that when I finished section 2, I was at the end of my desk. I had no more space. So it's interesting how I obtained additional space in the room to do section 3. And so when I had this extra space, I put together just a rough drawing, nothing to scale or anything, but just to show you, this is the main track that came over from Tiny House Village. I put in a turnout, number 1 there. Immediately to that, I hooked on a turnout number 2. And then I had a little more space in here, but then this location, I put in turnout number 3. This track then runs down for my staging area. You'll see a track over here, which is a totally separate second track for second train running over here. So that gives you a little idea of the switching and the turnouts. And I'll give you a better look as we look at it from overhead. We'll do a quick overview of the Valley Industrial Park. You see some of my turnouts. What makes me excited about my industrial park is the fact that everything here was DIY. I was able to construct all buildings, roads. The only purchases, of course, was the turnouts and the track. And that always makes it fun when you can make these things yourself. The first thing I built, of course, was the mayor's house. I had a little styrofoam left over from the carving of the mountains on section 1. And so I put his house on top of this small hill. He has nice rock gardens and a lot of nice trees, with a wonderful view over the industrial park. And if you move just to the left, every business park, of course, needs an airport. So without lack of space, I built just a helicopter park, because any of the business people related to these businesses can come in by helicopter. The sand, as you see here, is the sand that you could buy at a store for fish tanks. Very fine, very clean. The hangar was built out of front and back with wood and covered over with metal foil and antiqued up a bit. You can't see it probably, but in behind the hangar is road work going on, even with a flagman right over here. The airplane the helicopter has been filled with fuel, and there is, in fact, you can see a passenger ready to get on. Looking across the road, the roads again were made out of rubberized lids from totes. We have the sign entering into the business park, and the first three buildings you see is what they call the business complex, and there are suites available. What's good about this is they have a nice awning area between two of the buildings so that the employees have a nice place to rest or eat their lunch if they want to get away from their desks a little bit. Below that is a little bit of greenery dividing the tracks. You'll see the lower track there is the one that's a separate track altogether, and you'll see the third turnout up there, and the one swinging down toward this other track, that's the staging track. There is some construction going on over in this area. The cement truck is pulled up and they're pouring their cement. As we come down, we may be able to just pass the engines, gets just a little glimpse of the hobo jungle. We'll now move up to the highest building in the park, and that's the cheese factory. I have a magnet located there, Bachmann magnet underneath the track, so I can drop cars anytime I want at the cheese factory when it's time to take a load out of there. The building next to it is a textile factory. And while filming the textile company, the phone, of course, had to ring, so there was a brief interruption. But at the textile factory, you see a lot of activity going on their platform, and they can load cars from the back, because I also have a Bachmann magnet under the track so that cars can be dropped off at the textile factory. Next to that is the shipping company, and again they have access to the tracks front and back, and they also do quite a bit with the trucks. We move on over just a little bit more, and we have the international marketing. It also has access to the tracks. You see a coach parked over there by the wall. That is another spot for drop off with a Bachmann magnet underneath the track. That track is the main track, of course, from the tiny village, and tucked in behind there is the railroad maintenance building where the trains can go in there and be serviced. Into the back, of course, is the paper company, and they have quite a few bundles of paper ready to get shipped. The background was foam board that I had cut out and painted to replicate the industrial park. It's been a very fun project for me. Again, as I mentioned, because much of it I was able to make right here in my own little shop. So again, this is my idea of the business park, and we end up back over at the mayor's house and his rock garden. Well, this is the end of my Valley Industrial Park video. My goal is to just try to encourage anyone out there that's interested in HO railroading that it can be fun. It's a hobby. And during these hot weather or cold weather, wherever you live, it just gives you something that is useful and helpful and keeps you active. Remember, I'm 92 years old. I'm still enjoying the trains. And all I can say now is happy railroading.